Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be answering one very simple question. Can Death Knights do boosting in Classic Wrath? Short answer to that question is yes, of course they can. So roll the outro. So today I want to spend a little bit of time doing some very early theory crafting, messing about, looking at what talent builds the Death Knight can use and what kind of playstyles they can use in order to efficiently do some proper boosts. As you can see by the background footage here, my test subject is the Scala area of Stratholme. Now the reason why I'm using this is because for some reason all the other mobs, like the undead mobs in Stratholme, have some kind of snare effect. I don't know if that is a Wrath of the Lich King thing or whether it's a private server thing, who knows. So the only way for me to get some really good tests done is to pull the entire Scala area of Stratholme. And I think later in the video I'll also try and do some big pulls in Scythe Pens and see how that goes. The first question people are going to ask is, how well geared do you have to be? Well, as you can see on this character, I've basically just decked him out in very basic heroic level gear with some pretty good trinkets and everything. Because you want to know whether you can just quickly level up a Death Knight, do some heroics and get geared to do boosts rather than having to sit in some raids for a little bit. So as you can see, this gear is nothing that fantastic. It's just basic heroic level gear, some exalted pieces from reputations, and that's it really. I've also put on some very basic stamina enchants from level working. One very interesting thing to talk about though is the essence of a Gossamer. What it does is when you're struck in combat, has a chance of shielding you with a protective barrier that will reduce damage from each attack by 140. This lasts 10 seconds, and obviously when you're pulling loads of mobs as procs, well, it procs a lot, and it's very useful for boosting. Now, when it comes to builds, this is the one I'm really liking at the minute, but again, like, this is not set in stone. I'm not saying this is the best way to spec for when you're boosting as a Death Knight. I'm sure there's many different ways that you can spec because there's so many great talents that you can pick up. But the reason why I like this build the most is because of this cheeky little ability here called Hungering Cold. What this does is creates an AoE effect that freezes all the targets near you within 10 yards. Very similar to a Hunter's Frozen Trap effect, although I've noticed that your dots actually don't break the ice. And this is just really great for giving yourself some breathing room and making the pulls much easier. Whether you're doing like really big pulls and you're getting overwhelmed when you're running around, you can just simply stop for a second, pop a Hungering Cold, carry on moving on. Or you simply pop it when you're clumping the mobs together, you know, you're doing your little wall hug little trick, and then you pop a Hungering Cold, give yourself a little breathing room, you can stop, have a think, right, what abilities am I going to use, what do I need to do to get my health back up, like rune taps, death strikes, things like that. And does also infect more Frost Fever, so will actually get your dots up, which obviously will do great AoE damage, which in turn, with Blood Presence, is obviously turned into healing. When we're speccing down this tree, what we're really only trying to do, honestly, is increase that AoE damage and get Hungering Cold. Many of these talents are fairly useless and you're just using them to get down the tree, because you don't want to be increasing your Icy Touch damage. The reason for that is because, well, you want to be able to get an Icy Touch on the target and then be able to spread your disease straight after. But if you pop an Icy Touch on the target and then your melee hit just kills the mob, then you don't have an opportunity to actually spread your disease. You're normally okay on Stratholme mobs, but if you're doing boosts lower level like in Scarlet Monastery, it's going to be much harder for you to actually spread your diseases with Pestilence, because you're just going to kill the mob before you can even spread your dots. Toughness is very useful here, reduces the duration of slowing effects by 30% if you're going to get them. Black Ice is going to increase the damage of all your dots. Icy Reach, this is going to make pulling a little bit easier because you're going to like ping pong pull with Icy Touch. You don't have to go and run to the mobs and body pull them. You can get extra pulls by just Icy Touching. Obviously we have Lichborn here. We can use this to cause our death coils to heal ourselves. Not had to use this yet, but when people are starting to do insanely big pulls and really pushing a bow out there of what you can do on a Death Knight, definitely think this will probably come in quite useful. Honestly, the rest are just kind of junk talents until we get down to Frost Presence, a little bit of extra stamina and additional 2% damage reduction while you're in Blood Presence. I've been doing the pulls in Blood Presence at the minute, however you may have to do them in Frost Presence if you're doing, again, like even bigger pulls. Here I like Blade Barrier for the little damage reduction. I like Scent of Blood and Butchery so I can generate runic power before I actually do the pull, so this is going to generate runic power just while you're in combat. And Scent of Blood, because you're parrying and dodging so much, your runic power is pretty much mostly full. What's very essential here is Rune Tap. You're going to use this on cooldown while you're doing the pull, and it will easily keep your health topped up. We also have Death Rune Mastery. I've been messing about with this. You can use this to basically get extra blood boils off, because it's going to turn your Unholy and Frost runes into a death rune, so you can spam load and load of blood boil. Vendetta here probably will only become useful when you're boosting against mobs which are level 70 or higher, because obviously you're not going to get that 6% maximum health gain when you're killing mobs lower than level 70. Spell deflection, a little bit of spell reduction for when you're taking down the casters, and Veteran of Third War is just going to boost your stamina and your strength. Blood Strikes, Blood Boil damage increased by 30%, that's why I got that one. Blood Worms, a little bit of extra healing for absolutely nothing. Blood Presence, extra 10% healing while you're in Blood Presence, and this is very nice. And then also if you're in the other presences, you retain 4% of that healing. Death Strike, pretty essential here, because you're going to be Death Striking to top your health up, and with this talent, nearly half of your health bar goes up with one Death Strike. And then Vampiric Blood cooldown for when we need that. I think when Death Knights get geared enough to the point where Hunger and Cold isn't absolutely essential for doing the pulls, I think people will spec off into Unholy to pick up stuff like Epidemic, which increases your dot duration, which is going to increase your AoE damage. Mobility is going to reduce the cooldown to get more Death and Decays out, but mainly for Corpse Explosions, because when you're dumping Runic Power during these pulls, you're really only doing it for Rune Strike and Death Coil, and Rune Strike and Death Coil are a single target ability, they're not that great, but Corpse Explosion is just going to blow up all the corpses for insane AoE damage, so when people get a bit more geared, I think Corpse Explosion will also be quite good as well. I just like using Hunger and Cold, and that's what I'm practicing with at the moment, but I think other DKs out there probably will just be able to go for Corpse Explosion. What's also very useful in Holy Tree is On a Pale Horse, you can get stun and fear duration reduced by 20%. So let me show you some footage of me doing the boost, doing the pull. Should clarify, I am not an experienced booster by any means, I've never really done it before. This is me literally just jumping onto my own private server and giving it a spin for the first time. So as you see, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to actually get going and pulling some extra mobs of Icy Touch. Icy Touch range is really nice with that talent, and yeah, I'm just trying to, well, failing miserably to do proper strafing, as you can see, because I keep getting like knocked over. But normally this is fine because I'm topping my health up, as you can see with Rune Tap. I'm keeping that on cooldown pretty much. Normally when you're doing pulls like this and you're just doing your Rune Tap, it's pretty easy. As you can see, I'm trying to get an extra pull there. Let me skip ahead just a little bit, like to the actual kill phase. I think the kill phase, yeah, the kill phase is going to happen here. So what I'm trying to do is just get steady, popping into Blood Presence, and trying to survive. And then I pop my Hunger and Cold. Now, as you can see, I've got massive breathing room here. So what I'm trying to do here is actually get my dots up. So I get on my dots up onto one target, press Pestilence, and there you go. My dots are rolling on absolutely everyone now. So pretty much can relax here and just focus on Death Striking, getting my health back up. I can Rune Tap here. I can do quite a lot, but you know, my health is going up quite significantly just from raw Blood Presence healing effect. And as you can see here, it's really smooth sailing. My health isn't really going down because, as you can also see, I'm absorbing a lot of damage with my trinket, and you know, I have a luxury here to, you know, spread some blood, well, just spam some blood boils because, yeah, I'm absolutely fantabadozy. Death Knights are really tanky and really strong. I'm definitely not using my runic power effectively enough here. I'm making a lot of mistakes and not doing it perfectly. There's so much more I could probably have done to make this faster and make this easier for myself, but as you can see, it is early days for me. The Death Knights are definitely more than capable of doing some seriously good boosting. Here's me doing a pull of Slave Pens. Slave Pens was a little bit harder, and I did die a lot, but the only reason why I was really dying is because I was just forgetting to use certain cooldowns and certain other abilities available to me to actually keep myself alive. As you can see, to help with pulls, I'm chain of icing the melee mobs and getting away fairly easily. Obviously, I'm also using Unholy Presence for the pulls for me to gain that extra movement speed. You wouldn't be able to really do the pulls effectively in a different presence, because as you can see, I can really get ahead and I can get quite far away, and it's quite easy to do the pulls. Like, the pulls really isn't the issue. The issue is like actually tanking the mobs and surviving at the end. Skip ahead here to the actual kill phase. What I'm trying to do is wall hug on the left here. What I'm doing is I'm popping my cooldown straight away to survive the like first Bruntal attack that I'm gonna face. And the main priority is getting dots. So with mobs with beefier health pools like this, it is much easier to get your dots up and get them spreading for obviously the damage and the AoE healing that they provide. And yeah, and from this point, it's just, you know, you're just cycling through cooldowns. You've got Death Patch, you've got Lichborn for heals, you've got Hunger and Cold to give yourself breathing room, and you're trying to focus on just keeping your dots up and using as many Death Strikes as possible, really, and obviously your Rune Tap as well. I actually totally forget on this pull to pop Vampiric Touch, which could have made the process much easier. I'm also forgetting a lot to actually consume my Runic Power, so it's making me think that, you know, a Corpse Explosion build would be quite nice as well, because you'll have something to dump your Runic Power on. That would actually be more impactful. The thing I'm really learning with these pulls is when your dots are not up, that is when you're banging trouble. That's when you're going to start to run into issues. Because like here, like my dots fall off, like my Frost Fever falls off, and my health starts getting dangerously low. And then I'm struggling to get my dots back up because all the HP pulls are so slow. So you really have to keep those dots rolling, otherwise, yeah, you're going to be in trouble. But as you can see, guys, the pulls are fairly easy to do, even in fairly basic crap gear. So when you've got some raid gear from Naxxramas, this is obviously going to get much easier. I mean, I've only got 13% dodge and 16% parry. It's not anything good by any means. I don't think I'm even death capped. I've only got 485 defense. But guys, this is an early days video. The main purpose is to show you that, yeah, Death Knights are more than capable of boosting. So now you don't have to level up a Paladin from level 1 or boost a level Paladin. You can get a Death Knight and do boosting on a Death Knight. Due to the ease of access of making a Death Knight, obviously with them starting at level 55, we probably will see a lot more Death Knight boosters in Classic Wrath of Lich King. So yeah, Death Knight are going to be a great gold making class in Wrath of Lich King because yeah, they're more than capable of doing boosts just as good as a Protection Paladin. Anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. To my next video, ciao.